My name is Mihaela Bošnir. I come from Croatia and I work at the Government Legislation Office as a regulatory impact assessment expert. I will present Croatia's stakeholder engagement policy, legislation framework and institutional framework. And I'll show all the benefits of our portal for e-consultations, e-savjetovanje. From the far Estonia back to the neighborhood in Croatia. I'll present you today our stakeholder engagement policy. I know that you are familiar with some aspects of it, but I'll try to present our legislative framework, our institutions that are in charge of creating policy, implementing and overseeing it, and of course the implementation, step-by-step implementation that we are working on for the last 15 years, and our STAR e-consultation portal. And I'll try to show you some statistics in the end so that you see our results. So let's start. This is our regulatory framework that is in power today. As you see, I show it how it evolved from 2009. We have our first step in the direction of regulating public consultations in 2003 with our first law on right to access to information. But I didn't put it didn't made on a slide because it was just the first attempt. We prescribed the obligation, but it wasn't in practice at all. As we say in Croatia, prvi mačići u vodu se bacaju. So then in 2009, when our EU accession process took off, we took this task more seriously, and then our government introduced a code of consultation with the interested public in the procedures of the adoption of laws, other regulations and acts. So it was a set of standards that you should implement while drafting regulation, and it's a very coherent and high quality document. But it has one flaw. It's not obligatory. So we are aware of the fact that public administration functions when the things are prescribed in law. Only law counts. So to impose the obligation to civil servants who draft the legislation, we decided to regulate this thing in the law on right to access information. So in 2013 we prescribed clear obligation that the public consultations must be conducted whenever you draft law or other regulations, bylaws or acts if they have impacts on citizens. Later on we amended that, so now you don't have you can't choose for the regulations. All proposals of the regulation must be undertaken the public consultation process. Other acts which are not regulations, you may decide, do you think that this doesn't have the influence on the citizens and businesses, and in that case you must conduct the public consultations. That includes local government also, so it's widely spread. We align in alignment the government's rules of procedure and Parliament's rules with the procedure with that obligation. So that was then the whole package, the whole framework in 2015. Then we stood still for 10 years and just implement. And last year we decided that it's time to upgrade our framework, we decided to pass a law which would regulate all the better policy regulation instruments. So our law on better regulation policy instruments is in force from the first month of this year, and a regulation that prescribes methodology and implementation procedures. So we had the law on regulatory impact assessment before that, and we thought that it's good that all the better regulation policy instruments are prescribed in one law. So that law now has the part that regulates regulatory impact assessment, stakeholder engagement, evaluation, and planning the legal activities. This is the regulatory framework that needs to be implemented and created and implemented, so it's very important to have institutions that support that. So here is our institutional framework, institutions that we divided the responsibilities, as you see, between institutions that are a part of the government and with one independent institution. So Government Legislation Office, where I work, is a central point for creating all the regulatory policy. So we created this law that I just mentioned, and we are like a government's expert service that creates the policy for stakeholder engagement, RIA, and legal quality, and then we are overseeing the implementation, coordinate and overseeing the implementation. We have the ministry responsible for digital transformation, who is the technical support for our portal, e-savjetovanja. And we built a network of coordinators through ministries and other state bodies that draft regulation. So we have coordinators for RIA, coordinators for stakeholder, for public consultations, and administrators that carry out consultations through the e-consultation portal. So this is our network in the ministries, and GLO coordinates all the activities, and we are trying to be like the hotspot for everything that's related to these areas. And of course, we are all, I would say, embedded with the government. We are the part of the government, and we needed some institution that would be independent and would have some kind of oversight that it's overlooked from the outside. And so we amended our law on right to access information and give this responsibility to the Information Commissioner. Information Commissioner is an independent body who is appointed by the Parliament in the period of 5 years, and has the responsibility to supervise the implementation of the public consultation process. Of course, not only that, but this is one of his. They're in charge of that, and so they're independent of the government, and they can impose measures because they have they can do the inspection, supervision, and while they're supervising, they can impose measures, and they usually give guidelines and recommendations, but if it's necessary, they can do the concrete action measures. Their Information Commissioner is responsible to the Parliament for its work, and they report to the parliament. So in that way, the government has a control in implementing public consultation policy from the parliament. We think that we are at a good place now, but it took us a while to get here. It wasn't overnight. As I said, we are trying to develop as good as we can our legislative framework, and step-by-step implementation, I think, is the key. We started from the government's code of consultation, who set standards. It is implementing at the moment, because it's a great document, but as I said, it wasn't binding. So we started with the recommendation that duration of the public consultation would be at least 15 days. We trusted in the ministers that they will do their judgment and they will respond to comments, but it wasn't the case. So then we decided to prescribe the obligation in the law. From the beginnings, we started to make our network of coordinators, as I said, and that's a really good way to spread the word through the ministries. And of course, very important is education and training. So we started with educating coordinators that were in charge of stakeholder engagement public consultation process. When we amended our law on right to access information, we prescribed the obligation, it's mandatory, to conduct public consultations, online public consultations, for at least 30 days throughout a portal e-consultation, and for all draft of regulation. That means, of course, laws, government's regulation, and ministries' bylaws decisions. Local government has the obligation of also to conduct public consultations, but they can do it through their websites or through the portal. So we didn't make it mandatory for them. At the national level, everyone needs to go through the portal, but we have some exceptions with the regulatory agencies, or for example our national bank. They're independent bodies, so we can't make them use the government's portal. So they usually conduct the consultations on their decisions through their web portals. But majority of regulation goes through the portal. We have the responsibility to address each comment that is published on the portal. You can see all the comments. Everyone can see, and so the state body that drafts the law needs to reply to the comments and to make a report. A report consists of the responses to the comments, and the report is a part of the draft regulation, so it accompanies it. If a government adopts the regulation, then goes to the government. Of course, if it's a draft law, then the government sends the report to the parliament. It's the same thing on the local level. That obligation is for all. Whenever you conduct public consultation, report must go to the body that adopts the regulation. And as I said, very important moment was when we gave the authorities to Information Commissioner, so we can have inspection supervision of this whole process. Last year we decided to upgrade our legislative framework with the comprehensive law on better regulation policies. So practice showed us that there are some things that need to be regulated, maybe clarified, that the jurisdiction needs to be more specific. So we decided to put it all in one law. It's easier to implement. And so we at the moment have two laws that regulate this issue. One regulation, code, and rules of government procedure and rules of parliament procedure. So I would say it's set in stone. And additionally to that, we have a specific law on strategic documents, who prescribes obligation to go through public consultations for all strategic documents. This is above that. So in our last law on the better regulation policies, the newest law, we strengthened the standards that we imposed through the years. So we prescribe public consultation methodology, which consists not only from public consultations online, but from different methods of public consultations. So we support and promote different methods. Of course, that the public consultation, online public consultation, is a great method for reach the citizens, for the wide audience, but sometimes targeted consultations with stakeholders that can give ideas that are specific for the subject is a better way. So we promote, of course, different modes of consultation. We gave the opportunity for the drafter to take in account if they want to add something to the e-consultations that are binding. So we have now prescribed clear jurisdictions in our law for the government's legislation office. As I mentioned, we are in charge of RIA, public consultations, legal quality, and evaluation of policy and planning. Those are the issues that we recognize that would lead to quality of the regulation. That's the goal of everything. In the end, we want long-lasting and quality regulation. We had a problem with reporting with publishing the draft report. With the publishing the report on the public consultations process. Because sometimes ministry would publish the report after the regulation was adopted. That isn't the purpose of the report. And so we now specifically prescribe in the law that the report must be published before the regulation is adopted. Our constitutional court had a decision regarding that. They said that one government's regulation isn't constitutional because the report on the public consultation process wasn't published before it's adopted. So that was a good input for us to take care of that. So we don't have a problem anymore, and you can't finish public consultation process if you don't publish the report. This is the step that you need to do, and of course you can't go into the procedure of the adopting if you don't have the report to attach. So it's a closed process. Of course, for any policy you need to have civil servants that are educated and competent. So throughout the law on better regulation and our regulation of the methodology of this process, we prescribed competencies for the civil servants, competencies for the coordinators who need to be experts in better regulation instruments, which includes public consultation procedures, and competencies for the civil servants that draft the laws. So these competencies must be included in their job description. So and we prescribe mandatory training, education for all the coordinators and civil servants. We have workshops at least one a month for the public consultations, and we do in-house education. If there's a ministry that wants to do it in their building, and GLO is in charge for all the education. So we will promote this on the local level also. So we included local governments in the portal, and so we are promoting the e-consultation tool to the local government, and we also will we are trying to be visible and organize workshops at the local level. A little bit more about the portal. You're all familiar with it, and it's similar as I see as yours. So ours, it was launched in 2015, and so before that all the ministries just published their draft rules on their websites, and of course that wasn't unified, and they usually buried it somewhere in the website so that you can't see, so that the number of comments isn't high. So to unify that, we decided to create a portal in which all the consultations at national level be seen. So it's very different when you just click to the portal and see all the open consultations, and before that someone who is interested should monitor all the websites of the ministries that he knows that they will publish some law, and he maybe would miss the moment that the draft law is published. So in this way, it's very widely available information on open consultations. Currently we have around 60,000 users that are registered. You don't need to be registered to just read, of course, but if you want to comment, to engage, you need to register to the portal throughout your PIN number. So we are trying to lower the number of comments that are off the topic. So we are trying to, we don't like the comments to be anonymous. And many of course our citizens just read, and maybe they like the comments, so it's not I don't think it's a good number. And a lot of representatives of media are also registered, so they get the information on the open consultation immediately, so then you can have the visibility of the team through media, and they get notifications. Everyone can get notification on open consultations about all consultations that are open, or just the specific topics. Of course, you can choose. So that it's very user friendly and easy, and it's applicable for mobile phones and tablets. So we'll see in the next step. Of course, we're always trying to innovate something. There is certainly something to improve, but at the moment we are satisfied with the portal. At the moment, we, for example, have a big discussion on the tax reform, and it's lively discussion through the media, but it hasn't been, drafts are not published on the portal, so everyone is expecting. So everyone knows for the portal, everybody is expecting to see the drafts on the portal, and we'll see how many comments we'll get. Maybe it will be the highest ranked for the statistics of the number of comments, the law on health had more than 5,000 comments in 2018. And at the second place, it's a law on taxi that regulates taxi when we introduced Uber in Croatia. Then it was a very popular theme, and we had more than 3,000 comments on e-consultations. Portal citizens use the portal, but the other organizations, when they want their opinion to be seen by many people, then they put the comments on the portal. It's much more spread when you put it on the portal than if you have a closed conference when we invite stakeholders, but that is all in one room. Yeah, and if you comment it so that everyone can see that it's a platform to promote your ideas also, so it had benefits. This all sounds good. Maybe you think show us the numbers. So I'll show you some statistics. Our government must we report the government. The GLO reports the government once a year with a report on the public consultation process. So the government adopts the report. The report has wide range of statistics, so it's very transparent in that way. You can find it online if you're interesting. This is from that report. I took some graphs that I thought maybe you would like. This is the number of public consultations from 2012 to 2023 in these last 10 years. You see where we started from 144 consultations a year, and then that number raised we are now around 1,000 a year. Depends on the regulatory activity of the government, of course. If we have a year in which we maybe have elections, then the regulatory activity of the government is not so much, and this is the year that we have a fewer number of public consultations. In 2022, for example, that was the year when we introduced Euro and entered Schengen, and a number of laws needed to be adjusted to the EU. So we had a number of public consultations that was high. So of course it depends on the circumstances. This is the number of commenters. It also varies, and I think that depends on the topic that is on the plate. If there's a hot topic, then you have many people who engage in the consultation process. So, but you see, we have sometimes more than 900 citizens comment something on the portal. That, as I mentioned, that maybe that's not just one person. Sometimes a representative of NGO comments something. So he is a one commenter, but he represents many others. So this is not just the number who you could relate to the one citizen. It may be union, for example, that is one commenter, but he stands for all the members of the union. This is not in English, but I don't think it's a problem. This is a type of regulation in 2003 that was published on the portal for public consultation. Majority are the bylaws of the ministers, and 30% are the laws, and you see other. So our ministers are very disciplined in implementing these policies. So we have a mechanism how to impose that on them, because GLO is also in charge of publishing in our official gazette. So when they send their regulation to be published, if they don't have a report on public consultation, we send it back. So you need to find a way. This is our methods and duration in 2023. You see that this is our something that we are dealing with. Our law prescribes 30 days of the duration, but we have in 87% less than 30 days. Our average is 21 days. It's not so bad, but it's hard to. There are some situations where ministries just think that the only way they can make to the goal they put on themselves just to shorten the consultation period. That's why we, in our law on regulatory policy instruments, we prescribe situations where you can shorten the consultation period. So those are some urgent situations where we allow for the ministries to shorten the period, but we're trying to that would be just some exceptional situations. We also prescribe some situations when you don't need to conduct public consultations at all. I think that you have something similar in Macedonia. You said when you have a law on the ratification of some document, law on budget. So those are some situations that there's no need to put your force in that process because there's no feedback from the addressees. So we'll see how we'll manage with that problem of consultations that are not 30 days or more. This is the number of comments in 2023. All in all, 20,000 comments. You can see the majority is from the citizens, but different kinds of institutions are involved, academia, other government bodies, local government, our chambers, other institutions, businesses. This at the moment, this is the way where the majority of the consultations go through. In the future, we're hoping to work more on the targeted consultation because this is obviously at a good place now. And here we have the statistics for the number of and types of answers. As I said, each comment must be answered. You can just acknowledge the comment, na znanje, ja, kažemo. So some comments are off the topic, of course, but if you acknowledge it, that means that you read it. It's something. Around 9% of the comments are really taken into consideration and accepted, and 7% of them are partially accepted. So it's important that the number of comments that are not replied is low. In our case, 20% of the comments stay unreplied, so this is something that we also need to work on. As I mentioned, you can't finish the consultation process if you don't reply to the comments and publish the report. So the application is made that way. I think this is everything from me. I hope it was informational enough, and I'm open for the questions.
Thank you, Michaela, for very detailed presentation. I can see some hands in the air, so Susanna, you can start with questions.
It was very interesting presentation because it is within my scope of competence. The different data that you have shown about the commenters, number of commenters, and the last slide, more than 6,000 comments received. You gather this data from reports for consultation on the draft legislation, because when you mentioned the e-savjetovanje portal, e-consultation portal, the number was for 23, around 800 comments. So these last slides above 6,000 comments means that you get the information from public consultation process, email consultation within the ministries, not only e-consultation portal.
Not just only e-consultation portal, but from other data that ministries submit to us when we're doing the report. So if they had a conference or focus group or I don't know, some other way of public consultation, then we include, of course, that in the database. It's valuable data. Yes.
Are there other questions?
Thank you for your presentation. It was really good and really interesting. And can you tell us something more about civil servants in ministries who works on that? Because I think it is really a huge job, because it is really too much comments and everything.
Yes, those civil servants who draft the regulation, they also answer to the comments because they only know the topic, and so it's the part of the job when you're drafting regulations. Coordinators can help them, but they need to do that work alone. So that's why we insist on training not only the coordinators but the civil servants who draft the legislation, so that they are all aware of benefits of that.
Gordana?
Thank you. As I learned, a great effort is put on consultation during the regulatory impact assessment process and better regulation agenda. I'm wondering what kind of attention you put on cost-benefit analysis or economical analysis during the regulatory impact assessment, since in our case also in Macedonia we put great effort on consultation, but we are lacking in quality of estimation of what kind of impacts will new regulation will have in the future. So therefore, maybe if you have any information, it will be really useful. Thank you.
Yes, stakeholder engagement is a star for our regulatory policy. Regulatory impact assessment is not as successful, I can say. We have a regulatory impact assessment in force from 2012, I think, and we changed the methodology because after 5 years of trying to implement our first methodology, we were aware that it won't be able for our ministries to go through that complicated process of analyzing draft laws in the stage or ex ante, where you don't have the draft law at the table. So we had the preliminary RIA before. Now we have decided for the direction that we have a draft law already in written, and we do RIA at the same time. So it's easier for ministries to go through impact assessment when they already know the scope of the law, and we are now we are at that stage, and we are building our capacities. Of course, we have a problem with capacities that could analyze data, and with the evaluation of the existing regulation, who would be then the for the support for the decision making. Yes, so this is something that we work on, and we are introduced new model just a year ago, so we'll see the results. I hope so. We tried to maximally make the process easy, so they don't. In our case, we started to be an administrative burden. It was just taking the forms on one form and another in different stages of drafting the regulation, and it didn't have effect, and the restatement were they didn't have any data in and they weren't quality enough, so we're trying to work on that.
Any other questions? Yes.
Thank you for your presentation. It was very insightful. You mentioned, I just wanted to ask, is the RIA the same when it's the law in a draft, or and when it's a proposal, predlog? Do you update the RIA before and after? Do you update the RIA after the public consultations?
Okay. The RIA statement goes on the public consultation along with the draft law. So if there were comments on the RIA statement, we will change it. If we accept something from the public, of course, we can change it. And after our coordination of ministries who also see the draft law and the RIA statement, it can be updated. So depends on the situation.
Another question? Yes.
I want to ask for the coordinator for public consultation. It is dedicated or it has some tasks to perform on public consultation? So it's dedicated, or it do even other perform other duties, tasks?
Yes. It's not.
What are the plans?
It's not the only job of the person that is coordinator. He coordinates the aspects of public consultation policy, but he also has. It would be ideal that he would just manage with that. Maybe in some ministries that have really many regulations through the year they pass, some of them in the future maybe will be specialized just in this way, but no, I think that all of them have additional tasks, or the coordination is additional task to their own other duties.
Yes, more questions.
I'm interested, how you manage the citizens to involve in the process of commenting, because I'm looking at this number of comments and it's very high, because Montenegro have only 2 comments in 2020. 2020 or 2022 there's no comments.
I said that our citizens comment just online. Maybe that's the difference. Our other methods are not used so much. So, and I think that media awareness of the media, of the public consultation portal, and they're sharing the information, then reflected in more citizens to get engaged. I don't know. We're in the phase that our citizens like to comment, so not only under the articles on the portals and the newspapers, but also in other platforms. So I think I'm not sure what the formula is, but I think that if as I said, if the topic is interesting, then you will have as many as comments as you want to. There's some of our colleagues from the ministries will say, of course, too much because they have a lot of work just answering it.
More questions? Okay.
An addition regarding the secondary legislation, you mentioned that according to the law, also the secondary legislation developed by the ministries and adopted by the minister there is also obligation to consult. It's minimum 30 days.
Yes.
My question is how you monitor does the ministries are in full compliance to the law? Because usually when the legislation is, I suppose the Secretariat for Legislation is providing the opinion. And what is the case about the secondary legislation? Same, you're linking with your opinion as a Secretariat for Legislation, or how you encourage or how you monitor does the ministries are in compliance to the law?
Our information commissioner monitors, so he also sometimes supervise the process, and as I mentioned, we as a legislation office are publishing our official gazette. So when the minister needs to publish his bylaw, he needs to send it to the official gazette, and then we check the information of the consultation, and if they didn't do it, then we send it back. That's it's a one way you can do it.
I think this is a very good model of having official gazette, legislation office, RIA, and all in one, and then you can control. Many aspects of your presentation were impressive. The one aspect that you actually identify competencies for coordinators for public consultations and that you provide regular trainings is really impressive, and that is definitely needed in all administrations. And I hope RESPA will organize some events where we will talk more about it, because I think it's a very good example.
It's the next level.
Yes.
You set the infrastructure and the legislation, and then you need to add something to that, and that is people.
Yes. Just one quick question on RIA before we go to lunch. If an MP is proposer of a law, do they need to develop RIA also?
No. We couldn't make that obligation for them because they don't have the capacity to do it. MPs usually write the draft law with maybe one person who is their assistant. So it wouldn't be possible for them to conduct the whole analysis of the impacts of the draft law. So we decided that it's not realistic. So, but in Croatia, I don't know if one law a year is adopted on the proposal of the MP. It's not a practice. So the government proposes all the laws that are adopted.